saying that if you want to get professorship, you have to write more. Not only write more, but actually research more. Because the good publication, best publication is come up from a good research. If you cannot do a good research, there's no good publication. So we have to change that first in the term of educators. This is also right that Nelson mentioned about some of the professors are not really get good salary, which is actually we can have it if we really work with the industry. If we can have this one, like in ITP, for example, my university, some of the professors that working with industry, specialty engineering part, they can get more. I don't know how they put it. But the other who can work for the industry, they just get from the government, which is, of course, yeah, just enough for living, but not really good. So we have to change our way of thinking of this in the research and for science and technology development. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Haryo and Pak Nelson. So we do have I think space for one question here before we move on to the second topic. Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need from Indonesia right now is to increase the funding. But besides increasing the funding, we have to also make strategic move. It's good to have to send 7,000 PhD study here, but we are facing 2015 free trade within Asia. We know that we have solely mainly in the primary function, so-called primary function, is that we are only exporting some of the raw material, example with the mining ore. So the question is now, we have also this human resources, tremendous human resources that we call golden age. But I heard this like 5 years ago. They start moving away from this golden age. So one of the strategic move that I think we should do is that provide the training or education for specific industry, for this older or the one already passing the high school or cannot go into the college anymore, train them to do smelter-based technology, for example, about the waste treatment technology that we need so that we can compete while we're waiting the 7-8 years PhD student to graduate. So this is the one I think has not been looked carefully. And as far as I understand that the reason Indonesia doesn't go to BRIC is because Indonesia is considered only exporting the raw material compared to Brazil, Russia, China. So it is something that we know it is there, that we haven't made any strategic planning at this point. I would suggest plan to do a lot of master's degree program that dealing with industry that are needed right now in the very short term, 1 or 2 years, train them, make a production so that we can improve the downstream processing, we can improve the technology as it is now, so that we can do export, so we can do competition with the Asian country in next year. So I think this will be even improving overall program as far as technology and science. That's my idea.
Thank you so much. Haryo, since you're part of the government now, any quick response to that?
Yeah, okay. I couldn't agree more than that. I mean, we need this one fund and also the education for this. And for this, actually, the governor, like I mentioned, have developed this what we call academy komunitas. This is a kind of community college, and our plan is to have one in every kabupaten, right? So it means more than 300. We have 300 something kabupaten, right? So we will have one in every kabupaten. What they do is actually training, like you mentioned. This is for the need of the labor in each kabupaten. while the fund, we now have what we call as the Endowment Fund for Education. We got it from 1% of the 20% budget. The Constitution mentioned that 20% of the budget should be for the education, right? So we take 1% out of this as an endowment fund. We have now something like 17 trillion rupiah, and we use it for the scholarship. And it will increase every year. So this will be used for the scholarship, but also in the future it will also be used for the research. So it's kind of national NSF, National Science Fund right here. And we, this DSLPDB is also open for philanthropies or whatever who want to put more money there and then can have fun. We have this, but still working very slow at the moment. Hope that the new government will speed this up. Yes, I think that's right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Haryo. I totally agree with Pak Haryo. I have some numbers here just to put things in context a little bit better. So currently, Indonesia's R&D investment stands at just 0.08% of our GDP, and this is far below its regional neighbor. So if you look at China, its R&D investment is actually 1.47% of the GDP, Malaysia 0.6%, Thailand 0.26%, and Indonesia is not even reaching 0.1%. So if, I know some of you might have more questions, but let's hold off until the second Q&A. And now we are moving to part 2 of our discussion. How may US-based Indonesian academic diaspora help? So we are going to ask exactly how can we, members of the Indonesian academic diaspora, help to transfer the knowledge needed to build Indonesia, to expedite that, and then help boost the quality of research and development in Indonesia. So Pak Nelson, I know you have taken some students from Indonesia to study with you at Lehigh in the past. You do have some collaboration with Indonesian scientists based in Indonesian universities, and you have been involved in I4, Ikatan Ilmuwan Indonesia International, since its inception. So would you mind telling us more about all the initiatives that you've had in the context of strengthening science, technology, and innovation in Indonesia?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Satrio. In order to have impactful interaction or contribution toward Indonesian community in Indonesia, we, the American-based Indonesian Academy, have to be strong first. If we are not strong, we cannot help. We are the one who have to be strong so that we can make impact in in providing a real contribution, a real, I guess you can call it a real idea or suggestion that will be helpful. Now, if we, so this is actually one of the fundamental part, okay? So now, assuming that if we are able to have like a bunch of the scholarship from Pak Haryo's and the Department of Education program in Indonesia, if we can get half of them to be able to stay here, and then these people will have an impact. This is a model of China and India. The China sent like more than about like easily like how many hundreds of, let's say 20 times 15, so about 300 people during the early 1980s up to like mid-90s. These are people who actually were posted, become professors in many different places. Then they are able to come back and then impact the Indonesian academy. Now, you're right, I have some Indonesian students who graduated already with the PhD and master. But those are, I would say, it's a minor contribution. It's a minor contribution. To really make an impact, you have to have a program which is very systematic that allows you to bring like hundreds of people. Now, so this is actually where the dictee from the Department of Education has to be able to convey this message to perhaps to the government back in Indonesia, so that we can have this idea which is quite similar. We can call it like we're replicating the China model. I mean, it's really not embarrassing if we are replicating something that's good, okay? It works, okay? Now, the other small things that we have been doing is like initiating some of the joint program with Lehigh University and University of Gajah Mada. In fact, Pak Hari is also involved in that. And also like, how to mentor some of the young scientists. This is actually very important. As I mentioned, it's about the mindset. When they start coming here, it's about like just get those paper degree and then just so that they can go back and use it. It's very different than if they come here and say that, wait a second, what can I do? What can I actually compete among the best? What can I actually contribute to advanced science? Now, what can I do to actually be able to perhaps secure positions that are very competitive, that require perhaps competition among like all students from everywhere at the end of the day, or postdocs, okay? Now, so all this thing is the mentoring. The mentoring has to start very early. If you start to mentor them at the end of the PhD, it will be too late. It's actually typically the best time is actually mentor them directly at the start of the PhD. And then, for the younger student, it's actually, we've been doing like this mentoring to the high school student, the really high school student, like in SMR, about like maybe the year 11 or 12 in US system. So basically, when you start to indicate them like the beauty and the enthusiasm and the excitement of pursuing like PhD degree or maybe some of the advanced degree, they tend to be enthusiastic and they tend to be influenced in a very strong way. But if you try to grab them in the middle of university, typically it's too late. Okay, they tend to be like, I have many friends who are incredibly smart, but many of them are smarter than me. But I can tell you that it's more about like they don't see the benefit of doing that. That's why they didn't do it. Okay, what we want is a mindset of our community that, look, it's actually, of course, not everybody has to have a PhD. Somebody can actually become an entrepreneur, billionaire without any university degree as well. Okay, but I think it's actually important for the society to have this balance.
Yeah, I think there are two conditions that the diaspora can have an impact in the whole country. First condition, to me, is like Vanessa had mentioned, the diaspora itself. The ability of the diaspora to project identity in itself. I would say that if you can keep Bahasa Indonesia once, because the Chinese speak Chinese, the Koreans speak Korean, Vietnamese speaks Vietnamese while they are here, and the children also speak their language. Why this is important? Because in China, because of the language, they not only know the country, but the culture, how to do business, how to work together. And that's why Chinese, after they got the critical mass of the diaspora, more than 25 million diaspora, Chinese diaspora, and India as well. They can work with the Chinese and the mainland or the home country with the same culture. So language is very important. Don't let your children only speak one language, English, for example, but teach them also Bahasa Indonesia. So that not only because language is the key to know the culture. You can learn dance, tarian, but if you don't know the language, you don't know really the culture actually. But if you know the language, you know the culture. And this is very important, so keep this for the diaspora. And the second is also important, is the ability of the home country to establish a connection, a good connection, sustainable connection with the diaspora. China and India have one institution that really, take care of the diaspora. In Indonesia, we start now. But if these two conditions are there, I believe that the impact of the diaspora will good, or we can see the impact very strong in the home country. That's in the meantime, what we can do, of course, like a small thing, but Nelson saying a small thing, but this is important. Right now, for instance, while I'm here, we already have more than 60 MOU between universities in Indonesia and universities in the United States. Only a few actually with its work well. Lehigh is one of them, work well. And we have University of Hawaii work very well. We have Harvard work quite well, research and exchange student. We have University of Florida exchange student. But the professors who are in the university is the hub. They can work to connect more with the Indonesian institution. Not only this, and if we can get more Indonesian students studying in their universities, also good. Our idea is to send 10 best students in best university in the United States. In every best university in the United States. The LPDP, for instance, the endowment fund, we provide scholarship for 10 in cohort in every best university in the United States. We only list 55. But if we go to the best 20 university here, you can get the presidential scholarship, which is more than this. And this is only for Indonesians who living in the United States. As far as they will retain the Indonesian passport, they can get the scholarship. They can go to this university, so we will have 10 in Harvard, 10 in IT, 10 in Berkeley, and so on. So when we got the critical mass, they will have an impact in Indonesia. In China, now 78% of presidents of the universities are from those who were studying abroad, not only from the United States, of course. 68% of the PhD supervisors are those who are from those who study abroad. So we really would like to have that more. And for this, of course, the diaspora will have the role on this one. Yeah.
So I'm actually curious, since you mentioned the MOUs, you said some of them work well, some of them don't. So what are actually the primary challenges? And also, since we are talking about this, for my future reference also, do you know whether or not dual appointment at US and Indonesian universities is possible? I mean, what are some of the steps that have been taken by some Indonesian professors in the US based on your interaction with them?
Yeah, the primary challenge is of course the fund. Fund is difficult. It's very easy to get the MOU, but to make it work, we need fund. We need fund for exchange. For exchange, now we provide fund from the DIPTI scholarship or from the PDP scholarship. For research is very expensive. We don't have the fund for research. And what we would like to have actually, if we have a connection with the American professors who can do the research on science, advanced science and technology, they can get a fund from the NSF or the other NIH or whatever. They can work together with counterpart in Indonesia. Part of the research can be done in Indonesia. I believe it. It's very, it's very possible to do a research, part of the research, not the advanced one, but the application of the advanced research can be done in Indonesia, and this is the way. And we do this with some university. The university that we can work, the MOU can work well is because we can work a proposal and then get a fund for this. And that's, we are trying, pushing that the other 60 MOUs that we have to work and to get a fund for this.
I want to add something about this MOU thing, because I'm familiar with it a little bit. Because Lehigh have some interaction with the Indonesian universities. I think the short answer to that is that in order to ensure that the MOU become productive, you really have to have a champion in that institution. You really have to have a champion that pushes that in that university. Now, the champion could be the American professor who have, great interest with Indonesia, whether it's culturally, whether it's like the research topic, whether it's like just his, some kind of interaction or past collaboration. But it could also be Indonesian professors who are in the university. So this is the kind of like where a lot of this interaction will start to happen. Okay, and that's the reason why, you know, developing linkage, developing like connection, bringing like you know, proper, whether it's American professor or Indonesian-born professors who are not in America, you know, to have like a closer connectivity to the Indonesia as well as Indonesian university is very important. Now the second is about like the collaboration. So fund is always a problem, as Pak Harga mentioned, but most importantly is that to develop example of excellent research that can be done. When you develop excellent research in very specific topic, very narrow, very specific, just focus on them, let them be successful, this will serve as a great example of the future collaboration. So this is very important because what happens like this, when you spread the money all over, of course the fund is always the same, so you spread it all over, everybody gets thin. What happens, you get is almost like nothing will really come out important, okay? So what you need is actually to kind of just pick like maybe really small number of topics, okay? Really small, maybe 4 or 5, really narrow topics. But focus on that, get the philanthropists, get the business to buy in, get the government to buy in. And then pick like a bunch of university that has like the champion over here and also the champion in Indonesia, and just develop those, become like the example.